Did you ever wish Mindustry was 10 times more convoluted? This is a challenge map that I found, which is basically the Mindustry equivalent of the C-block mod from Factorio. But instead of assembling our whole base from scrap found in the ocean, we're instead using scrap found on the ground. Loading into this map completely destroys my bitrate, but we can see that there is definitely a lot of scrap all over the ground. You get a small amount of resources to start off with, but this definitely won't be enough to survive, considering the goal of the map is to make it to wave 100 without dying. I just removed the copper and lead drills because at this stage of the game, manually mining is much faster. The early game is still extremely painful though, because there's only a tiny amount of coal and I need it for graphite, silicon and power production. I can't do anything with the scrap without enough power, so my first priority is getting a differential generator running as soon as possible. So this means just painfully waiting for enough coal to make the resources we need. I try to get some resources out of the scrap, but I simply don't have enough power and it ends up just being a waste of resources. After like 10 minutes of just waiting for coal, I'm finally able to place my first differential generator. By some miracle, our tiny resource patches are just able to keep up with the amount of coal that it needs, so we don't have to worry about it running out. Now that we have enough power, the question arises, how do we actually play this map? We start by mining scrap, which is put into a melter and turned into slag. Then it is run through a separator where we get a small stream of resources out from that. Since I took so long to make all this, the first enemies are beginning to show up. Luckily, they're far away from our base, so I can just kill them off manually for now. Then I add some more separators to our design because we still don't have many resources. It's quite ugly though, and not very compact, so I spend some time tweaking the design and end up coming up with this monstrosity. I call it the Scrapatron 3000. We're still gonna need more resources, so I just copy paste it and put it next to the other one. I also add another differential generator. We have a decent amount of resources now, but we still don't have any reliable way of getting coal. So I'm making that next. Water extractors extract water from the ground, which go into cultivators, which make spore pods, and then into a spore press, which compresses them into oil, and finally into a coal centrifuge, which turns it into coal. All that for a measly 2 coal per second, and it uses so much power. Oh well, at least we can make silicon now. We just need to crush the scrap into sand, and then that's silicon done. I keep running out of power, so I build another Scrapatron solely for lead and titanium, just to feed some more differential generators. I also make a temporary plastanium setup, just to build some overdrive generators. Using a disassembler, we can make thorium, except we can't because it takes thorium to build. Luckily, we can just deconstruct some bolts around our core to get some thorium. I also built 2 more Scrapatrons because why not? Then I made a tullable power plant design which worked perfectly until it stopped working. Then I made a better design for coal, which uses like 2000 power to make a measly half a belt of coal. Oh well, at least it works. This big stack of Scrapatrons is starting to look a little bit ridiculous. I've got excess coal, so I just turned the rest of it into silicon, because we're gonna need it anyway. They're starting to send a lot of enemies, but I can't be bothered making a good defense just yet, so I just put a big stack of lances and hope it's good enough. Now I'm not smart enough to make a good power design, so I'm just gonna make the pyrotites separately up here. And that's all our power issues solved, at least until we need more coal. Also some more thorium because the first machine couldn't keep up. I make some more plastanium and it immediately drains all my power. Now that I have a decent base, it's time to start thinking about actually winning the challenge, so I start producing some surge early. For this defense, I'm going to be going with specters, because it's easy to make the ammo for them. I don't have enough of any materials, so I'm just going to use titanium walls for now. I'll fix it later. Seems pretty effective. This defense uses a lot of power, but since we already have thorium and cryo here, we might as well just use thorium reactors. I'm building these away from the defense because they have a tendency to fucking explode. This defense is very expensive, so I'm going to add some more silicon production. So I spent about 30 minutes trying to make a perfect silicon design, and then I just gave up and made this. Also some more metaglass. I think I'm starting to get a little bit obsessed with making these perfect rectangles. The defense is coming along pretty nicely, and it's about time I finished it as they're sending hundreds of enemies now. Here's my second attempt at a good power plant. I mean, at least it works this time. I'm so obsessed with nice shapes that I even turned the core into a rectangle. Also, some flares got past the defense and this happened. I probably should have put them just a little further away. I also finally remembered to upgrade the walls in the defense. I also set up 2 impact reactors to finally cure my power problems. This looks really weird, but I don't care, it must be a perfect rectangle. On the map, the base looks like a big circuit board. I keep running out of titanium, but I'm so rich that I can just slap down like 12 scrapatrons and dedicate them all to titanium. Also, they randomly sent like 10 tier 5s out of nowhere and I nearly lost. Now, all it takes is some waiting and the challenge is done. I really enjoyed this map. The beginning was painful, but it's a cool concept and I really love how my base turned out. I would recommend playing this.